Moving on to pricing, what is the most difficult ethical dilemma you are facing when it comes to affordability versus profits?
Yeah, I think we have many ethical dilemmas in our business because health is so personal and there is an ethos around universal healthcare. This is a core one. There are others too, I would say. But what is a fair return for an innovator? And I think there's brackets on that. One perspective, which had been pursued by the industry, we don't pursue, is that it's what the market will bear. I think that probably steps across ethical lines for many actors in the health system. And we actually don't pursue pricing that way. But you can imagine desperate people who need a medicine to survive. You can get into price points that are really exorbitant and maybe make a short-term return, but you'll probably be either legislated or sued out of business if you pursue that forever. There's on the other spectrum, there's a marginal cost plus. Take all your input costs, including research, and we'll add something to it. But I think the risks that fails to account for the risks in our business, which are very significant compared to other established businesses, and the return on that risk, as you would know, needs to be substantial because things can go wrong. They don't go wrong quickly. So the problem we have in explaining that, Nikolai, is it just seems like everything's okay tomorrow and the next day and the next day. They go wrong slowly and then all of a sudden, and that's the patent cycle problem we faced, right? So once a drug has been proven and is widely distributed and is helping millions of people, that's when those arguments come in of, cost plus. But we wouldn't have had the thing to begin with because no one would have undertaken the risks to invent it. We pursue more of a value approach. What is the displacement of other costs in the healthcare system? Certainly we deserve credit for that. And then what is the value creation beyond that can occur? For instance, with our weight loss drugs, there's emerging evidence that absenteeism drops in the workplace when people are on them. Maybe that's because reduced alcohol consumptions or other health factors. There's indirect things like joint and knee pain drop. So hip replacements and knee replacements are slowing in populations using our drugs. Well, we probably should get some credit for that as well. So, our idea is that we capture some, not all, of the direct and indirect value we create during the patent period. And then we remind policymakers that one of the great gifts of our industry is that everything we pursue, everything we invent goes to zero for us and goes to infinity for society because generic drugs are such a great deal for healthcare systems. We invented Prozac, 40 years ago. It's a standard of care globally for treating major depressive disorder. It costs in major markets about 4 or 5 cents a day. It's virtually free. And I think that's a tremendous gift to society. We don't want credit for that directly, but I think deserve more credit on patent because of that.
So now you and we come out of the lab, we've discovered GLP-1. We're pretty pleased, right? And we realize that this is going to lead to less people being away from the jobs, less alcoholism, all that kind of thing. Now, who's around the table when we decide how to price it?
I mean, it's an evolutionary process, but we begin with the outside in. We talk to health systems directly and understand how they think about it. We look at our data sets. So around the table before we walk out of the labs is, well, what could this medicine do? And how do we, in a full way, try to capture analytically those benefits? And sometimes we do a good job of predicting those things. In the case of GLP-1s or incretins, we've not done a great job because we undershot, I think, the broad benefits of these medicines. So then we look at real world evidence and work backwards. There was an important study we were part of at the Veterans Administration in the US that came out 2 weeks ago that looked at all these non-metabolic factors and showed benefits for schizophrenia, for major depressive disorder, for alcoholism, et cetera. And so then we quantify that. And then, we ask ourselves, what's a fair share of the value we've created? Some of these values are quite certain. Some of them are probabilistic. And so we make estimates about that and we try to form a price perspective that way. So financial people are there, scientific people are there, and people who talk to customers are there.